kill all the infidels, take واحد.
President Obama, your policy against the Islamic State has brought us once again to kill an American citizens.
One told how being on the phone may have saved his life.
I was crossing the road and there was an explosion. Everything went up in flames. I felt the reverberations. I fell down. Here's the phone that took the impact, and it saved me.
Many people are very familiar with the term terrorism. After the terrorist attack in Paris, most of the terrorist actions are directed by terrorist organizations such as ISIS of Iraq, Al-Qaeda in Arabian Peninsula, Army of Islam in Gaza, and etc. Behind all these terrorist organizations, there are a few countries are supporting it by providing them a huge amount of missiles. We call them state sponsor of terrorism. Terrorism organizations are threatening humans' lives all around the world. It should not be supported by any of the countries. Instead, it should be eradicated together. Before I start to elaborate out with my topic, let me explain to you about the meaning of state sponsor of terrorism.
On Friday, Cuba was officially removed from the U.S.'s state sponsors of terrorism list. That leaves Sudan, Syria, and Iran on the list. That's a pretty small list considering there are almost 200 countries in the world, and the U.S. isn't on great terms with all of them. But what really matters is if the State Department says the countries have repeatedly provided support for acts of international terrorism.
As stated just now, the state-sponsored terrorism lists are pretty small as there are only 3 countries are in the list. They are Syria, Sudan, and Iran. Yet it is serious enough to get more attention on it as it is a very dangerous and serious issue. My topic today is not only terrorism but North Korea, which is one still listed on the list. In 1988, the United States designated the government of North Korea, officially known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea (DPRK), as a state sponsor of terrorism. In 2008, North Korea is removed from the list. Although it has been removed from the list for a period of time, recently, United States considered to put DPRK back on the state sponsor of terrorism list. People around the world concerned about whether to put DPRK back on the state sponsor of terrorism list because it is an important issue that affects other countries' peacefulness. Now, come to my focus questions. Should the United States put DPRK back on the list of states that support terrorism? In my opinion, DPRK should be put back into the state sponsor of terrorism list. There are a lot of unknowns behind this mysterious country, North Korea, because it is separated from the outside world. Tons of questions are left towards the overseizing of human rights of North Korea citizens, historical actions of their leaders, and the recent interaction between DPRK and Iran. Firstly, the most important topic in North Korea is the human rights of their citizens. In my opinion, overseizing of human rights should be counted as an action of terrorists. Human rights are very important to achieve equality in social because human rights symbolizes the power of each individual. In North Korea, their citizens have almost zero rights due to their over-controlled leaders. The leaders of DPRK control their citizens in all ways, such as their citizens do not have the freedom to talk about their country with foreigners or vice versa. Let's check it out in the video.
Instead, they presented me with a number of rules to abide by when visiting their country. In our country, you have to do this. In our country, you cannot do this. In their country, I am not allowed to take video, I am not allowed to take pictures of the local people because they will be angry with me and I will get in trouble. The hotel that evening really reminded me of Stanley Kubrick's Shining. It was deserted, it was in the middle of nowhere, and it felt as if nobody has been there in ages. And I really wondered, do the staff of this hotel, do they come to work every day, even when there's no tourists, and do they still pretend that it's business as usual? Then I got to my room, and I turned on the TV. I had the TV running for that evening. I wanted a local experience, and I very much got one. I was sitting in this crappy hotel room with no hot water, with old stinky carpets, with black and white images and revolutionary music blasting from the TV, and I simply felt transported to some strange other reality. That evening was spent drinking blueberry wine in the hotel's hallway. What I found more interesting, though, was the cute waitress and the fact that she was completely mesmerized by the touchscreen on another tourist's tablet. She spent most of the evening playing Angry Birds until suddenly Mr. Mo showed up. He sent the poor girl away and he started playing the game himself. I was not allowed to wander, but I could go out to the courtyard. And it turns out that the foreigner's presence sparked quite a bit of interest from the local people, especially from the kids. Many of the children, they came up, they poked their faces through the gate, they tried to see better. And I waved to some of them smiled, some of them got shy, and understandingly so, they were very curious. After all, they may have never seen foreigners before. To bring another tourist to the area, he then started bragging about harassing other visitors with cameras.
One day I organized undercover journalist. Me and my driver break the journalist's camera.
You hate the journalist so much?
He almost opened the window.
Was that the video?
Oh, they broke it. I thought you broke it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Then,
Enough of the video now.
okay, I promised with the driver, if I touch your shot, please stop the bus very suddenly. So
Enough of that.
and then the journalist dropped their camera in the road. I like it.
Why would you like that? That's terrible.
On the other hand, DPRK is completely separated from the outside world as they have no knowledge about the technologies. They are not allowed to go on internet as almost no citizen know about Facebook, Twitter, and even the most famous website, Google. From the short video I just showed, you can see that the citizens are obsessed with the latest technology devices. In the latest generation, even 5 years old kids knows the game Angry Bird, but the citizens seem to know nothing about it. Why? Because their leaders seize their chances to go on internet and seize their rights to know more about the outside world. Therefore, there is no extra information is shown in their TV except of black and white images about the revolution of their own countries. Overseizing of human rights is an act of terrorism because Kim's family used them to maintain their power. As long as no citizen finds out the real outside world, none of the DPRK citizens will know what their leader is actually doing to them. What really matters is the selfishness of the leaders of DPRK has caused serious famine going on in their country. It's not enough food sources is provided to the citizen.
North Korea, one of the most secretive and repressive regimes in the world. Every year, tens of thousands try to escape across the border into neighboring China. We arranged to meet a North Korean woman who'd been through the detention center after being caught in China.
집에 있다가 화구 검사하느라고 왔다 갔으리 한 번은 잡히고.
She said she was held there with her husband and baby for 3 months before being sent back across the border. How were you transported from China back to North Korea?
그 구르장에 있다가 그 지급이 다 끝난 다음에.
She told us she was shackled and driven back. She says that the men that transported her back to North Korea forced everyone to have a strip search. What happened when you arrived inside North Korea?
9일 있다가 그다음에 또 거기에 따라서.
She was then split up from her husband. He was sent to a political detention center and died after being tortured. After 6 days, she was allowed to return home with her child. Her baby died of malnutrition a few months later, and she fled to China once again. We'd been told that the children of illegal North Koreans also face problems in China, but when we arrived, it became clear that the boy's situation was far worse than we first thought. So what has happened to the boy's mother?
엄마는 붙여받았어. 조선으로. 강제 6년 전에 갔지.
He says that the boy's mother was sent back to North Korea 6 years ago, and since then, he has been looking after the boy.
근데 그 아는 그 무슨 엄마 붙들어가면
He told me that because the boy's mother was North Korean, he had to spend his whole year's salary to buy the boy Chinese identity documents, without which you don't technically exist.
그러니까 그 허그스면 그 위치감 내 딸이 하네 그 허그.
He explained that he too had been married to a North Korean woman and had been unable to get identity papers for their daughter. And so, when she contracted cancer, she couldn't go to hospital and get free medical care, and she died. No one knows how many North Korean women are sent back from China each year, but it's estimated that 25,000 children have been left here in limbo. Sun Yi has escaped and been sent back to North Korea 3 times. Each time she survived the punishment of hard labor camps. What has happened to your family?
아이들 자식이 5인데, 5인데.
She said that 2 of her 5 children had come across the border with her, but both her son and daughter had been arrested trying to flee to South Korea and been deported.
7년을 먹었다는데 7년 어간이 다 죽지.
The old lady began to cry as she spoke of her son.
당장
She fears for the worst for him, that he's been imprisoned for 7 years in a political prisoner camp, and she feels that people who go in there very rarely come out. They usually starve to death. She has no idea what has happened to them.
이거 딸이 두고간 가봐니까.
As we were leaving, Sun Yi produced a wallet. Her daughter gave her this purse as a memory, and it's got a picture of her daughter. It's the last photo taken of her before she was arrested and sent back to North Korea.
The video shows that the leader forced their own citizens to escape from their own country. If DPRK is putting their own citizens in such a poor situation, there isn't any hope that DPRK will be lenient to other countries. Seizing of human rights in DPRK is a torture towards their citizens, and it is also a harmful cause of tons of problems towards their own citizens. Therefore, United States should put DPRK back into the state-sponsored terrorism list in order to prevent the bad situation in turning worse. The 2 quotes above show that DPRK is still a troublesome country after it has removed from the list for a long period of time. North Korea is completely an individual country because it has its own political ideology, which is called a Juche ideology. We translated it to self-reliance in English. The Kim's family has done so many historical actions in the past that is unforgettable. The graphic organizer shows the most well-known historical actions that had been done by the Kim's family. On 12 November 1987, a woman from North Korea who named Kim Hyun-hui and her partner were asked to be spies of DPRK. They were ordered to finish a cruel mission, which is to bomb a South Korea's Air Flight 858. The objective of bombing the plane was to scare foreign people away from participating in the Olympic event that was held in South Korea. Kim Hyun-hui was supposed to end her own life as her mission was found out, but she gets to survive until today. Let's look at her interview about the incident of bombing Air Flight 858.
It was a huge operation, and I was trained to get the operation done. As an agent in North Korea, I was in no position to argue if a mission was right or wrong. I was trained to carry out the mission, even if it cost people's lives.
Kim Hyun-hee's mission was to bomb a South Korean airliner. The attack in 1987 killed all 115 people on board and led to the United States listing North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism.
From the moment I got on the Korean air flight, left the bomb in the overhead locker, and until I got off, I was nervous every second of the operation. In North Korea, you needed Kim Jong-il's approval for the most minor thing, let alone a spy mission. He personally ordered the operation to bomb the Korean air flight.
The future dear leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-il, hoped the bombing of Flight 858 would scare foreign teams into staying away from the Olympics.
We were told that Flight 858 had exploded and that there were no survivors. We knew then our bombing operation had been successful. For the first 8 days, I kept resisting with lies. But then my interrogators took me for drives through Seoul and I saw how modern it was. And I listened to how the agents around me spoke so freely. This contradicted everything I'd been told in North Korea. I realized then I'd taken innocent lives, and I expected to be given the death penalty. I deserved the death penalty for what I did, but I believe my life was spared because I was the only witness to this terror perpetrated by North Korea. As the only witness, it is my destiny to testify about the truth. Kim Jong-un is too young and too inexperienced. He's struggling to gain complete control over the military and to win their loyalty. That's why he's doing so many visits to military bases to firm up support. He's also using the nuclear program as a bargaining chip for aid, to keep the public behind him. I regret what I did, and I am repentant. I feel I should not hide the truth from the family members of those who died. It is my duty to tell them what happened.
This shows that North Korea is a very dangerous country as it does not care about people's life. It should not be removed from the list so easily because the incident had passed for so many years. The actions of DPRK are still threatening people's life as their leader is selfish and cruel. Therefore, DPRK should be listed again in the state sponsor of terrorism list. On 22nd November 2013, Sony Computer System is hacked due to the movie Their Interview, and the President of USA, Obama, accused that it was done by North Korea. Their Interview is a comedy that makes fun of the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, but Kim Jong-un got angry at it. When the Sony computer system was hacked, North Korea is immediately accused by the United States. The evidence shows that the behavior of North Korea did not change even though it has been removed from the list of state-sponsored terrorism. The actions of the leader of North Korea, which is ordered his agents to bomb the Air Flight 858 and hack into Sony company, proves that DPRK is still a very dangerous country. Therefore, DPRK should be put back into the state-sponsored terrorism list. Shows that North Korea is still a very dangerous country as it can amass a huge amount of nuclear in 5 years' time. It should be put back in the list in order to make sure that it is observed by the countries around the world, to make sure that it is safe enough to be kicked out from the list. And once again, it proves that the nation isn't a nation, but prison, without human rights. Over the years, DPRK has supplied missile technology to Israel neighbors, including Iran, Syria, Libya, and Egypt. Syria, which has a history of confrontations with Israel, has long maintained a relationship with North Korea based on the cooperation between their respective nuclear programs. The quote states clearly that North Korea is cooperating with Iran by selling weapons to them. The actions of DPRK shows that North Korea is supporting the terrorism organizations of Iran. Therefore, DPRK should be put in the list again. The quote proves that North Korea is still exporting missiles to Iran. Based on the evidence, it was happened in February 2012, which was 4 years after DPRK has been removed. if a country is repeatedly provided supports for the acts of international terrorism, it should be listed on the list. Therefore, DPRK should be listed back into the list of state sponsors of terrorism as it has achieved the qualification. Hello, but not least, I have interviewed a lecturer from CBU who has a very big concern about DPRK. And welcome. Last but not least, I have interviewed a lecturer from CBU who has a very big concern about DPRK.
Well, I think North Korea is a very interesting country simply because there is no other country like it. It is one that has been totally cut off from the rest of civilized global society since the mid-1950s. It is a country that we know very little about, that not many people are allowed to travel to, and so I think that because it is so mysterious, that we have a fascination with it because it is just so, it is the antipathy of what we know as to be a normal global country.
Like, you have known so much about North Korea. How about you? How you feel towards their citizens?
Well, I think the North Korean citizens are in a very unfortunate situation, and that, I actually feel sorry for them, to be honest. I feel sorry that they live in the situation that they live in, where they are totally and utterly subservient to their one great leader, which is a member of the Kim family. Right now it's Kim Jong-un. So I feel really bad for them because they are not allowed to experience everything that life has to experience, and they're basically plunged into this world which is very, very, very boxed in, and they don't know a whole lot else beyond what Mr. Kim tells them.
You make a very big difference to the North Korea and the leaders too, right? If they're open up.
Oh, no question. I think if they begin to open up, the North Korean civil society is going to see the lies that this regime has been perpetrating and exposing for decades now, and I think that they're going to have a lot of negative consequences for the regime itself. I think that the only reason that the Kim family has been able to maintain power is because they haven't opened up to the rest of society. That if they did, they would probably lose power, and you would probably think of some pretty nasty consequences for the actual Kims themselves.
What historical actions that you knew that was done by the Kim's family?
One of the biggest things when people think about North Korea is the famine, the multiple famines that have occurred because they don't produce enough food. They starve their citizens in order to make sure that they are, subservient and that they don't rebel. If you keep your civil society uneducated, poor, impoverished, and weak, unhealthy, they cannot revolt, and that is what they tried to do. So I think that's what they're best known for.
In your opinion, do you think seizing of human rights is an action of terrorism too?
Seizing of human rights, is it an action of terrorism? Yeah, I think by definition you could probably make an argument that it is. If you seize individuals' human rights through whatever method that is, if that's locking them up in jail, you are basically doing an action against the civilian population to promote a political, economic, social, or religious agenda. That is the definition of terrorism. So yes, if you trample on individuals' human rights, if you seize them, if you take them away, then yes, you are to a certain extent acting as terrorists do. I just think that the problem today is that the way that the global media presents terrorism is that it's only a terrorist action if it's a bomb exploding in a mall. That's not the only thing that constitutes terrorism, but the problem is that that's the only thing that we're told is terrorist activity. Terrorist activity is far more broad than that, and things like the elimination of civil liberties and human rights, if you are doing that and it hurts a specific group of people, and you're doing it so that you can promote your own biased, potentially negative viewpoint, then yes, you are absolutely acting as a terrorist.
So, so many questions. How about if I ask you to conclude, do you think DPRK should be put back into the state-sponsored terrorism list? Like after so many years, it has been kicked out.
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually don't know about that, to be honest, because I don't think that they go around, I mean, yes, I think in terms of their own, hurting their own civilian population, yes, then definitely. In terms of my broad general understanding of what terrorism is, yes, they hurt their own people. The problem is we just don't have a lot of evidence on it because there's no media there. We're not allowed in. So yes, I think that they should be on there, but I think a lot of other countries should be on there as well. You know, and first and foremost is the United States. So yeah, ultimately yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In a nutshell, the issue of putting the North Korea back to the state sponsor of terrorism list should be more concerned by the people around the world and also the media. Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK, should be put back on the list of states that support terrorism due to the overseizing of rights of DPRK citizens, the historical actions of their leaders, and the recent insurrection between DPRK and Iran. If you were North Korean, will you want to know the truth behind your own country?